Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the Darkest Timeline. It's a bumper episode. Seems to be the way at the moment. We're talking Sunday Curse. Yeah, I don't know. Just Sunday Curse. Arm Pain, Mother's Day, and TV, movies, games, and some surprising games. Surprising. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. And the biggest one of the lot is share that podcast around, people. Share that podcast around. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, the Darkest Timeline. Hello. How you doing? You alright? See? Brighter, more jovial. I try, I'm a learning machine. I try and, learn from previous mistakes. I got through it with a straight face and everything. How you doing? You well? You good? You been good? Been having a good time? Been having a good week? I, as always, have to presume that you've said yes to all of those questions, and I can say good, and then we can move on. So, super fun story to talk about, which is, I think it's actually a couple of weeks old, but only presented itself more recently. So, it's kind of a climbing story, but it's not a climbing story. It's a completely different story. Absolutely, definitely not about climbing. So, a couple of weeks ago, I was at climbing. See what I did there? I'm hilarious. So, a couple of weeks ago, I went climbing. First thing in the morning, started out with a little warm-up, as you do when you're old. And how do I put this? It's an excuse to climb things you know you can climb before moving on to the stuff you know you can't. And that was that. And I'd done one route, came down. And before I had the opportunity to do anything else, my climbing compatriot was like, hey, why don't you try this? And it was more difficult than what I'm used to. It added like a level of difficulty in all descriptions. It was a wall that's at an angle leaning back. It was even if it had been like a straight up route, it was more difficult, and so on and so forth. It was just harder in all dimensions. Part of me, some would argue the sensible part of me, in my head went, but I haven't warmed up. Now is not the time to be trying something more difficult than usual. And another part of me, the part of me that often forgets that I'm old and should absolutely do things like warming up, stretching, etc., was like, it'll be fine. I promptly took hold of the starting holds and proceeded to hoist myself off the ground. And I heard a sound. Now, this is going to be hard to explain, but I'm going to try my best. I heard a sound internally. So, what I think I mean by this is that I heard a sound that originated in my arm. But rather than hearing it with my ears from the outside, I feel like the sound travelled up my arm, into my neck, and into my ear on the inside of my body. And the sound was like a crack. Now I know what the long time listeners are thinking. Hang on a minute. And you'd be right to think that. Because yes, it was the arm I broke. So, I heard an internal crack. And I was like, that can surely only be a good thing. And what I actually thought was, that can't be good. Didn't think too much of it. It was one of those things where I couldn't do the climbing question and kind of left it there. It was very much like, there is nothing here for me. I would just move on to do other things. I logged in my memory files the sound and the pain. This was the thing, there was no pain directly linked to the sound. There was a sound, maybe a little bit of discomfort, but that could have been explained by trying to do a slightly more difficult climb. And that was that. Or so I thought. Since then, I will caveat this and say, since then I've gone a little bit excessive, a little bit more to the extremes of certain things. I think I had spoken about last Monday, I'd done the volunteering stuff, which in hindsight became quite painful, and a lot of pain of recent times has focused in a particular area. And I was like, does anyone else think this is strange? So, around about this time of year, last year, I broke my arm. We know this. I was running, I tripped, I fell, broke my arm. Being the true man that I am, did absolutely nothing about the fact that I'd probably broke my arm for 24 hours. And then took myself off, found out, hey, guess what? You broke your arm. It's like, cool, that's super awesome. Outside of the time it took for that arm to heal, the time for the break to heal, the amount of time it took to stop using the sling I'd been given, etc., etc. Understandably, there was pain. Then there was the fact that I had to build my arm back up from a muscle perspective. I was very much surprised how little I could lift when I went back to go, back to using the gym. And all of those things, I worked my way back. Not only did I get back, I went beyond. I went beyond where I'd been previously. I was lifting heavier weights, more, longer, etc. It was a win-win across the board, getting back to where I had been before, as I mentioned, breaking my arm. And that was that. Since that point in time, I have experienced absolutely zero issues. No pain, no, oh, that's where I broke my arm, no, oh, there's going to be a storm because my arm's aching. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. No point in time have I gone, ooh, that's where I broke my arm. So, to then say that I did a thing that I've been doing consistently for weeks, and had this pain, as time went on, I was like, actually, I think that's exactly where the break was. How strange, how weird, how whatever. And then as time went on, it's like that pain is starting to become a little bit debilitating. It's got to a point where it's a little bit like, I am struggling to do this or that or the other. And it's very much sort of been playing on my mind. It's like, how does that happen? How does that situation come about? How is it that you can do so many things and so many different things, especially for me, who has a tendency to put my body under varying different types of stress, to get a year down the line before anything comes of it? Obviously, at this point in time, the area of my arm is aching right now. Since I've started talking about it, it started aching. Maybe it's psychological. Maybe there is some sort of programming in my brain that says, this time last year you broke your arm. You need to remember that. So here's a little reminder, have some pain. It's super weird to me that after all this time, after going through all of the recovery, and it was not the shortest road, and having nothing since then, to now be like, that hurts, that does. So weird. There are certain subjects. When I wrote this down, I was like, geez, they're going to think I am a broken record. There are certain subjects that I truly believe I sound like a broken record. Climbing. I keep thinking about the early days of this podcast and thinking about how all I did was rant about people's driving. There was there was a lot of sort of conversation about running and conversation about weightlifting and weight loss and da-da-da-da. Weirdly, some of those things are going to make an appearance in this episode. One thing that comes up quite a lot is me saying, I think I'm cursed. And then going on to talk about the reasons that I think I'm cursed. So, having said that, stepped out of bed yesterday morning. I will double back to yesterday for a different reason, but let's talk. So, very quickly, this is how it always happens. Very quickly yesterday, I realised that yesterday was going to be one of those days where I just feel cursed. I spilt every single, I was going to say, I would say drink, but it's not even just drink. Every single liquid that came into my vicinity for whatever reason, I spilt, including the fact that I kicked the dog's water bowl, spilled water all over the floor. The water bowl's been there for 3 years. And apparently, yesterday was the day I decided I didn't know where it was. Spilled a glass of water because I walked into a wall. Yep, you know, those walls that move. Spilled a cup of coffee. Still, to this point in time, absolutely no idea how I spilt that cup of coffee. Coffee just leapt out of the cup all over the floor. And I'm like, I don't understand what these days are about. I don't get. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh man, you're always complaining about these weird, cursed days, but it's just a bad day. It's just an off day. It's just whatever. Okay, well, let me lay this one on you. I'm having a bad day because, honestly, days like this are exhausting just purely through the fact that you just feel like you are a danger to yourself, you're a danger to others. It's one of those days that people are like, I feel like I should have gone back to bed today. I felt like I needed to go and hide. At one point in the day, I was like, I think I need to remove myself from this situation because someone's going to get seriously hurt. Anyway, I went to open a drawer. I needed to get nuts out of the drawer so that I could prepare part of my lunch for today. You don't need to know that. I'm just giving you context. I reach over, I grab the handle of the drawer, at which point the handle basically explodes. Snaps in down the middle, snaps in in two halves, and one of those two halves just comes away in my hand. I'm like, okay, I think this warrants me saying the kind of being cursed situation. I know what you're thinking. There's not enough evidence. Let's try this one on, shall we? Not sure if I talked about this because, honestly, I felt beyond dumb. A little while ago, I glued my fingers together. Not sure, like I say, not sure if I talked about it. And I know what you're thinking already. Probably not that big a deal. Yeah. That's what I would normally think. Even with standard, normal, everyday run-of-the-mill super glue. You glue your fingers together, you just put a bit of pressure and you pull them apart, and that's that. And then you've got those two discs that just annoy you for the rest of the day. And that's that. That's normal, standard super glue. If you've got what turns out to be how do I put this? Cheap, non-branded super glue, apparently that's the good shit. This is what they were using in the war when they needed to glue people's bodies back together. So there was a situation a couple of months ago where I went to glue something. Didn't really think too much of it until I went, oh, my finger and thumb are glued together. That's funny. Why won't they come apart? And proceeded to go down this route for quite some time, reaching a point where I got quite panicking because I was the only person in the house and my finger and thumb were well and truly glued together. I scuttled off to find some nail varnish remover, at which point I poured nail varnish remover all over the glued area, cotton bud, the works. Went, why isn't this doing anything? At which point I turned it over to read acetone free nail varnish remover, and I went, well, that's amazing because I need the acetone to get rid of the super glue. Luckily for everybody involved, managed to find some nail varnish remover that had acetone in it, and with some careful application of this nail varnish remover, managed to unstick my fingers. Lost about 3 layers of skin in the process, but hey, managed to regain my finger and thumb. Getting back to the point where I was like, I need to fix the handle on the drawer. Best get the super glue. Took me about 4 seconds to glue the bit of drawer to my hand. Something I learnt, which was interesting, was apparently the super glue and fake wood don't stick as well to your skin as skin on skin, because with some careful pulling and ripping, I did manage to separate the glued piece of wood from my hand. And I think this was the point where I was like, I think I'm done with today. And it was something like 11 o'clock in the morning, and I was just like, I think I'm done with today. I just want to know, and I know I keep asking, and nobody wants to let me know, but what is that phenomena? You step out of bed, you're in a bad mood, and that sets the tone of the day. I understand that. You didn't sleep enough, you're not getting enough fibre in your diet, whatever. You step out of bed and you're in a bad mood. Also, those days where you step out of bed and from the moment you open your eyes, you've got a headache. And that headache then just is there for the entire day. No matter how much you drink, no matter how much, you could hydrate yourself to the point of practically drowning. That headache will not leave you until the next day. Again, I get it, I understand it. It's probably some sort of deficiency and that's not liquid-based. It's probably something else. Salt, maybe. Who knows? I understand all of these principles. There are times when I think that the what has been more often than not the Wednesday curse is just like a self-fulfilling prophecy, like self-inflicted, like there's something psychological where I'm doing it to myself. Sometimes I've wondered that, but then I've always gone with, but why would I do that? All of that sort of stuff. So the fact that A, it happened on a Sunday, and B, I was just like, what causes this? What goes into making this a thing? It always reminds me of an episode of Red Dwarf where they talked about having a bad day and you feel like you've got bad luck, and then having a day where you feel lucky and they manage to bottle good luck. It always makes me think of that. So today's Monday, as we know. It's always Monday. That's what life is, really. Life, it's always Monday. Which means yesterday was Sunday. And I said, I'm going to come back to that. And the reason I'm going to come back to it is because it wasn't any old Sunday. I feel like that's a film. No, different film. It wasn't any old Sunday. It was Mothering Sunday or Mother's Day. So, Mother's Day. Mother's Day is an interesting one because I've got 4 children. That's 4 gifts, in case you're wondering. And yes, obviously, I could just do this is from the children, and here's a gift. And I could do this is from these 2, and this is from these 2. But I try not to do that sort of thing. And I could do here's 2 or 3 things from everybody. There are combinations that can be done. This year, I thought I'm going to do it different this year. I'm going to go out a little bit on this one. I'm going to push the bar out a little. So each child gets a gift. Each of those gifts is tied into that child and that child's relationship to that parent. So that was that. And I said to most children, it's Mother's Day. What do you want to do? Do you want to do a gift? Do you want to do a card? Make sure everybody's okay with, certain cards and certain presents and blah, 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 blah. Oh, yes. And one child's like, I've already made a card. And I was like, oh, that's good. I think we'll buy one, though, as well. No harm there. And another child was like, I've also made a card. And I was like, I was like, right, what are we doing for gifts? And one of those scenarios where each child had good ideas. And I'm like, yes, I like this. I love this. This is fantastic. Saves me having to think of things. So I was like, right, you've got a good idea. I'm gonna move on it. I'm gonna go with it. So I went and I was like, right, this is the item. If I buy it now, it's in a deal. So that's what I did. I bought it immediately, and I saved myself £2 whole. I was like, yes, winner. And another child, I was like, right, you are buying this gift. And I went through the whole process, and I ordered the item, and the item came. Chicken dinners all round. 2 for 2. Boom. Third child's like, I want to do this. And I'm like, it's a good idea, but it is an idea that has been done previously, which means it's tried and tested and true. But I think we should go ever so slightly off book this year. I'm still in the mode of I want to put a little bit more effort and I want to really, knock it out of the park this year. So I start looking around, bit of a googly moogly, having a look here, there, everywhere. And then because of the sort of things I was looking for, obviously you get suggestions. So I'm looking for the sort of thing and it was like, hey, what about this? And I went, that is an amazing idea. And it was one of those things that once I started looking into it, obviously they reel you in with, oh, it's only this much. Yeah, it's only this much for the item that you definitely don't want. If you were going to get the item that you do want, it's 4 times as expensive as that. And I was like, it's a lot of money, but it's super cool. So I'm going to go with that. So, 3 children down, 1 to go. Now, my son, he was going to be the enigma, and I was going to play on that. So, obviously, he can't say to me, Dad, I've carefully selected the item that I would like to get for my mother for Mother's Day. I would happily like you to help me in securing that item. Mostly because he can manage a 3-word sentence. So I was like, okay, I'll just do I'll get this, and this. A few smaller bits. I say smaller bits. They absolutely weren't smaller bits. And they can be from you. So, your standard, a box of chocolates. In the midst of all this, I was hit with, hey, don't know if you're looking for a Mother's Day gift, but I'd really like this. And I went, absolutely, send it to me. I'll solve it. I'll solve that problem. Don't you worry. Now, here's how you take Mother's Day and you turn it up a notch. You dial that bad boy up. It was always the mission to knock that puppy out of the park. And this is how it's done. A little while ago, Leanne said to me, hey, there's a new cake shop opening. And I was like, all right, okay. Yeah, they've only got one other location. And that location is in Harrogate. And I went, all right, okay, it's interesting that they're coming to York. In some ways, it makes sense. In other ways, okay, where's it going to be? Oh, it's going to be here. Whereabouts there? Because that place feels quite full. Oh, well, you know where this place is? Yes, I do. Oh, it's going to be there. I was like, interesting. Took that information and logged it away. For a rainy day, some might say. The clue that I completely missed in all of this was they've only got one other location, and that location is Harrogate. What do we know about Harrogate, people? Well, it's the same fact that you'll always hear no matter where you go. Harrogate has more millionaires per capita than anywhere in the United Kingdom outside of London. And that should have been the clue. So, having committed to, here's the idea, I'm going to take the opportunity and I'm going to go to this cake shop place. I'm going to get some cakes. Bing, bang, bong, done. I am going to be the hero of the hour. I'm going to do it. I'm doing it right. I took an opportunity. I had an hour to run and do it. I went to the place where the place was. I saw it from the back. I'm lying. I saw it from the front, but from a good distance away. So I just knew where I was going. That was that. I went to the car park, I parked up, I got out, I walked around. I saw it from the back, and I still didn't think anything of it. I walked down the side of the building, I went round the corner to the front of the building, and I went, oh, shit. This is not the place for me. What I saw was palatial. In case anyone was wondering, yes, it is a word of the day catalogue. Jesus Christmas. That joke didn't work because I tried it 3 times and I didn't get the words out. So let's just move on. The front of this shop, restaurant, cafe, cake shop ultimately was, yeah, a lot of white, a lot of gold, a lot of holy smokes. Now, this was the point in time where I realised I was in the wrong place. And I don't mean I'd gone to the wrong place. I meant this was not a place for me. However, I'd committed in the sense of I'd taken time out of life to go to this place, and I felt like I couldn't walk away empty-handed because then the whole thing would have just been a waste of time. So I pulled up my big boy pants and I went to the door, and I opened the door and I went in, and immediately was like, I am underdressed to be in here. I was just like, this is not the place for me. I have wildly misjudged this. I should not be here. But like I said, I'd committed a crime by this point, but I'd committed to being there. So I was like, suck it up. My money's as good as these toffs. Let's get this done. There was a queue at what I could only presume was like a till kind of area. I knew that money was exchanging hands. It was where all the cupcakes were. I was like, yeah, I think this is where we need to be. So I joined the queue. Joining the queue of people waiting to pay was a real eye-opener. And what I mean by that is I got to see what people are prepared to pay willingly, not at gunpoint, for afternoon tea. In my life, I have done the odd afternoon tea. I've been to a variety of places and done a little bit of afternoon tea. I've even thrown a shirt on, should the occasion take me. I am often surprised, one way or the other. Either I'm like, that was very expensive for tiny sandwiches, or that was reasonably priced, and my word, it was a lot of food. Those are the only 2 scenarios I've ever ended up in. Listening to what people were happily handing over money for, I was like, honestly, I feel like you should be taking people out the back and providing other services for the kind of money that you're charging people. Does the gold plate that it's delivered on come with the bill? Do you get to take it away with you? Because holy smokes. So I queued in my cap and hoodie, and just taking life to the face at that point in time, listening to amounts of money that were being handed over. I had to triple check what their pricing was on the website while stood in the queue, and also had to triple check my bank account just to make sure that I wasn't going to have that embarrassing moment where they're like, oh, your order is this much and I can't afford to pay for it. So, having triple checked everything, I was like, okay, it's nearly my turn. I'm going to have to roll the dice. So, the lady's like, can I help you? And I said, I would like to take away some of your finest cakes. You know, when you can see a series of thoughts go through someone else's mind. Her thoughts were the same as mine. You're in the wrong place, sir. You can't afford to be here, sir. How do we get you out of here as fast as possible because you're bringing down the property prices, sir? How many of our fine cakes would you like? I was like, just the 4, please. Are you sure I can't interest you in 6 or 12? And I was like, upselling, interesting. I almost said, no, I'm sorry, I can't afford that many. I was like, no, just the 4's fine, thank you. So she got me a box. She was like, would you like to pick some? I was like, I was going to tell you to pick, to do the picking for me. However, I've realised that there's a whole Lent situation. No chocolate, blah, blah, blah. I was like, stay away from chocolate if you can. I was like, oh, hang on a minute. That one right there. Give me one of those and then give me some other stuff. She was like, what about this? What about that? One of those situations where she clearly read the situation. She was like, what about one of these with the Mother's Day thing on it? And I was like, absolutely. She was like, right, there we go. There's your cupcakes. She then she put her mask on, pulled out a gun and told me how much I was going to have to pay, which I happily paid and have not mentioned the fact that these 4 cupcakes cost more than any other item that I purchased for Mother's Day. I haven't mentioned it. It's not the sort of thing I would do. And I walked out. I put them in my reusable carrier bag, which again, just hilarious. And you know, to give credit where credit's due, they went in a nice box. They had a ribbon put on them. The ribbon had that thing done where you use a pair of scissors and you make it all curly, and they put a sticker on it, and then it made it look nice. And you know, there's obviously clearly effort involved, as you'd hope for that sort of money. And I put it in my reusable carrier bag and scuttled away. And then proceeded to drive home like I had, I don't know, like, I was, the obvious one would be like the crown jewels in the car. Just something very precious in the car, because my word, knowing my luck, I'd probably brake too hard and they'd go splattering all over the windscreen or something. I believe my efforts were appreciated. Apparently the cakes were rubbish. No, I'm kidding. Apparently they were very nice, but ultimately they are cupcakes and are wildly too expensive. One of the items in the end hasn't turned up, and apparently isn't going to turn up for another 2 weeks. So, just be careful when ordering stuff, people, about the time scales that they promise you before ordering them, to then be told, actually, we've changed our mind and it's now going to be 3 weeks. Final thing to discuss this week, something that has been going on a little ongoing for a little while, and it's something that I've debated whether to discuss, and have... Honestly, I've kind of shied away from it recently, but today feels like a good day. Been having some weight problems each week when I do a podcast and I do the coding and I put in what the tags are. I always see the weight loss tag, and I'm like, I never really talk about sort of the weight loss journey. What I will say is this. Since Super Bowl Sunday, on Super Bowl Sunday, I had to commit to letting the dog off the chain, as I like to say. I took all the restrictions away to allow myself that one day of, takeaway and chocolate and whatever else. What I've neglected to mention is that apparently I forgot to put the dog or the chain back on the dog. This point in time, we're talking, that's a month ago. Weirdly, each week, stepping on the scales has been like some kind of, like I've been trying to achieve some kind of high score. Like, I wonder how much I'll have put on this week. Which seemed a little weird after a while. Reaching this point in time, stepping on the scales this morning and going, well, there we go. I've put on half a stone, and if I'm honest, half a stone and then some, I think. And going, right, well, there we go. And it's one of those things, I know, like I say, I don't really talk about certain things that are tagged on the podcast these days. I don't talk about my running because I'm not as impressed by my running these days. If I'm honest, I feel like I'm phoning it in for a variety of different reasons, which is why I made sure to go for a longer run on Friday. Working out, don't really talk about that anymore because, like I said earlier, I just often sound like a broken record. And weight loss wise, well, I haven't lost any weight for a while. It's a month, if I'm honest. And in that month, I have steadily put weight on and just gone, quite frankly, fuck it. However, all good things must come to an end. So it's probably time to get a little bit of accountability in my life. And that's what I'm doing right now. So there we go. I've told you, and now I need to be held accountable for it. So that's the week in a nutshell. Lots and lots and lots. Lines and lines and lines. Lots of other things to talk about, lots of other things to go through. In the entertainment space. So, TV shows. I've not written one down. Damn you. 1 second. I'll just put that and hopefully remember what that actually means. TV-wise, finished off Series 2 of The Bear. Episodes 8, 9, and 10. What can I say about Series 2 of The Bear? Very much how I feel about The Bear as a programme. It's good, I just don't know if I can tell you why. A part of me feels like I want to discuss the episodes. Let me see if I can find the one thing I want to know. Right, did I watch 8, 9, and 10? 8, 9, 10. Okay, right, okay. So not spoilers, I don't think, but Series 2 has been about reopening the restaurant as a high class sort of restaurant. The last 3 episodes did not feel particularly remarkable, apart from obviously the last episode being the dry run or wet run. I don't know if that's a thing. Opening of the restaurant. It featured Jamie Lee Curtis again. Was in it again, very briefly, but as you know, as I mentioned before, she was very good in the brief moment she was in it. The one question, the one question I've got, and again, not feeling this is a spoiler. How did they sell to Joel McHale? We want you to be in this episode. All right, okay. What we want you to do is we want you to sit, stare directly ahead, have a bit of a smirky smile on your face, and you're going to be on camera for about 3 seconds. All right, okay, what else? No, that's it. That's all we want from you. That's it. That's it. How they managed to pull that one off, I'm a bit like, really? Part of me feels like, did they get him to film it in the first series, knowing that they needed it later? Because, man, I'd have been like, you're going to have to give me a big check for this one. It's been good. It's been enjoyable. Again, not entirely sure I can tell you why, but I do enjoy it. It's very good. I don't know. Series 3 is due out soon. I think it might be June. I think. Another one of those where it's a bit like, what is the third series going to be about? Because the second series had points in time where you were just like, I don't know what we're watching here. Some episodes you came away from like, I don't feel like my life has been enhanced anymore by that episode. As is the way. Finishing a series means you need a new series. And I got 2. I got The Gentleman. The Gentleman was one of those, I'd seen a trailer for it and went, interesting. They've done a TV series off the back of the Guy Ritchie film, The Gentleman. I wonder how that works. Another question was, how much involvement does Guy Ritchie have in this? Has he just literally sold the rights to Netflix? And so on and so forth. I had one of those things where I was like, I think I recognised the main guy from something else and I wasn't a fan. So that's going to be an issue if he is going to be the main character. I tell you what, I'll give you the same I give everyone else. I'll give you the first episode, and if you grab hold of me, take me on this ride, then fine. Now then, I'm going to talk about the downside of The Gentleman first. The episodes are an hour minimum, and honestly, I want to find a different way of saying it, but I can't, so I'm just going to say this. It feels like too much. I honestly believe that the 30-minute episode is the real sweet spot. You know, it's what was 25 minutes. It's the real sweet spot. It's the spot where you can say, I'm going to watch an episode while I'm eating my tea. And honestly, if I want another episode, I can just watch another one. And if I don't, then I don't. An hour is committing to what in a lot of ways is half a film. And if somebody said to you, hey, do you want to watch half of Terminator this evening? Chances are you'd be like, no, not really. That's where I feel the problem lies. If you said to me, this is a half-hour episode, I am all over it. The irony there is, I'd probably watch 3. Because it's the choice, it's the option, it's the, I can if I want to. If you're putting an hour down in front of me, I've got no choice. Very much one of those where it sounds like I'm making a bigger deal than it is. But honestly, it's put me off watching it at points. I've been like, but it's an hour. First world problems, clearly. I have watched the first 2 episodes. As far as I can tell, it's got the name The Gentleman. The story is loosely based in the world of the film. However, completely different characters. but the same premise. So it takes a bit of getting used to. There have been some absolute juggernauts as far as the actors in it are concerned. Like, there was a point in time where Ray Winston it's just Ray Winston. It's like, all right, okay, we're doing that, are we? And then, like, you know, it's The Gentleman, it's Guy Ritchie, it's British. Yeah, Giancarlo Esposito pops up, and you're like, okay. And it's been like that. One thing that I took real issue with was when they were like, Giancarlo Esposito's in it as a massive meth dealer. And you're like, you didn't just do that, did you? Because that'd just be way too on the nose. And that was that. They just move on. It's like, oh, come on. On the upside, on the upswing, it's been very good. Very much a this is what you want, what you'd expect, what you're pretty much going into when something's got the Guy Ritchie name on it. I have been a person who in the past has criticised some of Guy Ritchie's more recent things, and I will hold my hands up on this one. I'm pretty sure I have previously criticised something of Guy Ritchie's that I then went on to thoroughly enjoy multiple times. And it may or may not be The Gentleman. That's a much, much deeper dive needed on that statement. But anyway, moving on. It's been good. I will continue to watch it. I will, take points in time where I know I can dedicate an hour to it. One of the biggest issues I've got at the moment in life in general is the fact that I just do not have enough time to fit in all the things I want to do. It's, that sort of thing where work just gets in the way of enjoying life. Finally, from a TV perspective, I watched the first episode of Series 2 of Full Swing, which is the Netflix golf documentary show. I watched Series 1, thoroughly enjoyed it. It's done in the vein of what I believe is being called the Drive to Survive kind of thing, which is the F1 one. It's basically just another one of those, but it's for the golf. One of those things that sometimes I have an issue with these programs because they come out after the events. So it's like, you can get a deeper dive into the events of what's happened. And you're like, yeah, I can. But I kind of know what happened. I know what the outcome was. So you're trying to be like, here's the ins and outs. It's like, I don't know if I need the ins and outs when the outcome is still the same. So episode 1, series 2, there's a lot of talk about Rory McIlroy, how his game's suffering because he's having to do all of this PGA Tour related stuff. And then halfway through the episode, they announce that Live Golf and the PGA Tour have merged. And it's such a huge shock, and oh my God, what's going on? And how it's devaluing this and that and the other. All these people got paid all this money. So on and so forth. There's a little bit behind the scenes stuff about, the workings of that. But ultimately, I already knew that because it happened a while ago. So you're a bit like, well, yeah, I know. So things like, I watched the first episode of Series 2 of Welcome to Wrexham. And I was like, I know how this series is going to end because this time has passed. And it just felt like such a complete anticlimax that I went, I don't need to watch this anymore. And I've never gone back to it. And I honestly don't think I will. Because I don't need to watch this and know the outcome. So there is that, there is a little bit of that. The one thing about watching a program that is essentially about golf, you get to watch some golf, and I like watching golf. So there we go. 2 movies I want to discuss. One, I just want to give a cursory mention to because it's a film I've talked about previously and reviewed previously. I am not coming at it from that angle. Luckily, the other game I want to talk about is a new game. So, game, idiot, movie. I have got new games to talk about though. So, maybe that's where that came from. Just want to give a mention to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. It's a film that I took all the children to see at the cinema. We watched it at the cinema. We enjoyed it. That was that. I bought one of the children the film on digital for Christmas. So there we go. So we've all seen it as a family once. The children have seen it again digitally. And I think my youngest daughter has actually watched it again. Bearing in mind that she went to the cinema to see it twice. She's seen it a few times. However, for me, I have seen it once, and I saw it once at the cinema. And a film like that, I truly believe it's almost like your obligation. I knew there was a word I was looking for. It's almost your obligation to watch it multiple times. A film like that has so much in it. I always used to say, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I have seen that film so many times. And honestly, if you wanted to watch it now, I would sit down and watch it with you because I said this. I've seen that film so many times, and every single time I watch it, I notice something different that I've never seen before in it. It is a film that is just, it's like the onion of films. It just layer on top of layers on top of layers. There's so much in it that it's almost too much, which is why I feel a film like that, one viewing just isn't enough. It's a film that requires multiple viewings, in my opinion. So, I took it upon myself to say, well, we own it. The kids have seen it. They saw it at the cinema, they saw it again. Some of the children have seen it multiple times. So I was like, I feel like I'm okay to just pop this on and watch it on my own. So it's one of those, I put it on while I've been running on the treadmill. So I take, a film like that length. It takes me like 4 days to watch it. Those aren't consecutive days, so it's a little bit disjointed. But, just what an absolute banger of a movie. I have this rating for certain films, and that rating is, it is a perfect movie. What that means is it's not necessarily the best film ever made. I will never say in the same vein, it's a perfect film, it's the best film ever made. I reserve the perfect rating for films that are just immaculate. Just so well done. You can tell they've just been made with nothing but love, and like blood, sweat and tears have gone into it, and just every single fibre of it, just perfection. And I watched it and I was like, this film is a banger. So I just wanted to give it another mention. It's, just an absolute delight of a film. Very much looking forward to the third one. I always have to accept that I don't think we're going to see that film anytime soon. And by that, I mean, it's going to be years away from everything that has been sort of heard about it. So, new film time. new film that I watched this week is Spaceman. Spaceman is a Netflix movie starring Adam Sandler and Paul Dini. Now I say it. I'm like, I don't think it is. Dina. Hang on. I've got it right here. It is. I was way off. It was Paul Dano. Probably at this point in time, best known as Riddler in The Batman. But he was also in that was it called Funny Money? I can just go in and look. Why am I... No, come on. No. Dumb Money. Not Funny Money. Dumb Money. About the GameStop thing. I probably don't need to explain who this person is. So, Spaceman. I saw a trailer for Spaceman a little while ago and was like, oh, that looks super interesting. Now then, a few things about this film. Number one, top of the list, top of the pops, is I'm not a massive Adam Sandler fan. I always say this. Every actor that you don't like is allowed a movie that you do. I have a series of actors that I have very little time for. However, each one of them has a film where I'm like, you just can't argue. Adam Sandler's one of those. He's got more than most. I would say 90% of his movies that he does on a regular basis they are just not for me. But going back to golf, if you want to sit down and watch Happy Gilmore, give me a call. I am there. There are others. We had this conversation in the house the other day where I was doing I'm not a massive Adam Sandler fan, and there was a lot of films thrown my way with but you like this, but you like this. I was like, yeah, and I can add a few more to that list. I'm talking about the others. So, not off to a great start. Because there's like 4 people in this film. So you've got that. The story is, very quickly, there's a big purple cloud in the sky. And an astronaut goes on a solo mission to collect particles from the big purple cloud in the sky. On the way, he finds that he has a guest in his spaceship. And the guest is a giant talking spider. And therein lies problem number 2. Problem number 2 is there was a time in my life where I would very much consider myself to be a massive arachnophobe. I will say this much. Over the last few years, certainly the last 10 years, I've tried to make it better for a variety of different reasons. Ironically, to this point today, this evening, I did my workout with a spider. Big guy, spindly. One of those, tried to climb up my bench while I was sat on it. So I helped him down from the bench and suggested that he may want to bugger off. He took himself over to the corner and then watched me do my workout. I was like, you sit there, I'll sit here, and we can be friends. Just like that. Don't crawl on me when I'm lying on the bench with big heavy things above my head. Please. Considering myself to be slightly better than I was, doesn't necessarily mean I want to watch a film that's got a giant spider in it. The fact that it was a giant talking spider kind of softened it somewhat. The big question, from a psychological perspective, are things like, is the spider real, or is the spider a manifestation of his loneliness? And things like that. He's going through a difficult time with his wife. Whether he realises that or not, and ultimately the spider helps him to view parts of his past and change his thinking, I guess you'd say. So that's... I don't want to give too much away. I may have already given too much away. Who knows? I saw a thing the other day that was like, people are saying that Adam Sandler's latest film is the worst film he's ever done and he should stick to comedy. And I was like, give it a rest. That is a bullshit headline which is designed to drive traffic in a particular direction. And you're wrong. Spaceman is hands down one of the best films that Adam Sandler has done. For me personally, because when you take people out of their comfort zones, that's when you get the best from them in a lot of ways. So saying to a comedic actor, hey, go and do something that's not only serious, but super serious and super, like, the burden will be on your shoulders because you are, for a lot of the film, the only actor that's in it. Other people of note, Raj from Big Bang Theory is one of the other people in it. And then a lady that plays his wife. I'm not entirely sure I recognise. One of those where I'm like, I kind of recognise you. Can't really say what from. I don't want to do too much of a quote unquote review because, like I said, I don't want to give any spoilers away, but I also don't want to get anything wrong. Another one of those, I watched it over a series of days, which in hindsight, I felt like I maybe didn't give it quite enough of the time it deserved. It definitely felt like a film that I should have sat down and done in one sitting. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done. Very much one of those where you could kind of sort of get on board with the talking spider aspect. The relationship between Adam Sandler and the spider were great. There were a few questions. I think there's a mention that the guy's like Czech. It's a bit like, okay, like there was a point where I was wondering whether it was maybe Russian. There is this weird crossover between some of the equipment that he's using in this spaceship that's designed to travel like all the way across the galaxy. It looks kind of outdated, but then there's other pieces of technology that it has that are a bit like modern. So it's like, when is this set? I'm pretty sure at some point in time I saw mention of there being a book. And it was one of those, the whole time I was like, if there's a book, I think I'd quite like to read the book. So yeah, Spaceman, it's on Netflix. I imagine you'll have probably seen some mention of it by now. Don't listen to any bullshit headlines. Definitely worth your time. Computer games and a special surprise mention in the computer games section this week. In the last week, I've had one game on Ghosts of Tabor. Hands down, one of the best matches I've had. It was a 6-man match, and I killed 3 people, and was like, I took out 50%, but hang on a minute, I would have been number 4, so I can't do the maths. Got a super cool gun out of it, immediately swapped my gun for that gun that I picked up. The 3 people in question, I have to work on the principle that they were literally new to the game, and I just got incredibly lucky. I honestly thought they were computer players when I found them because of the way they moved. I was like, computer player. Shot said player and was like, oh, you've got a name tag. And then when I checked the kills list afterwards, I was like, oh, no, they were people. So that was interesting. Only got 1 game on it this week. Because when I upgraded to Quest 3, one of the nice things about it was I got a free game. And the free game in question is what I believe is the most expensive game on the Quest at the moment, which is a game called Asgard's Wrath 2. No surprises, it's a sequel. Turned out, having had a conversation with my good friend Edward, that apparently you got the first one free as well, but it's on a different platform. And if you have access to that other platform, you've got them both. I told him I thought he was a stinking liar. That's not what I said. I was like, what makes you so special? Why didn't I get a copy of the first one? I looked into it further and went, I apologise. You are not special. I did get a copy of the first one. So, Asgard's Wrath 2, IGN gave it 10 out of 10, which just means that their brown envelope was big that month. As I like to say to people, IGN gave it 10, so it's probably an 8 out of 10 game. I started playing it and went, actually, I see why this game got the review it got. This is absolutely a 10 out of 10 game. This is a freaking banger. Feels like a game. Every now and then you get a game that sometimes it feels like it's been made by a child. Like somebody sat a child down and went, what do you want in this game? And they go, I want this. And they go, yeah, we can do that. I'm like, okay, well then I want this. And they're like, we can do that as well. What about this? Yep, we can do that. And it feels like a game where the mechanics that get added in as it goes on are just like, what's the coolest thing we can put in now? Well, it would be a sword that can turn into a whip sword. That sounds amazing. Let's do that. Basically, it's 2018 God of War. You throw a weapon, which starts out with as a axe. Yes, that's right, you heard me. An axe. Yeah, the irony's not lost there, is it? So you throw your axe, and then you can tell your axe to come back. Sound familiar? So that's how it starts. You've got a weapon, which is an axe. You throw it. You are a god. You possess a human. Don't ask me why. And away you go. And honestly, I'm playing this game and I'm like, this game is amazing. This game is what every VR game should strive to be. And as you start playing through it, you're like, hang on a minute, this game must have cost a fortune. This game must have had hundreds of thousands of hours poured into it. It's physically impossible to make a game like this without putting a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of effort in. It's that simple. And that's why every VR game isn't Asgard's Wrath 2. People just don't want to put the time, effort, and money into a game that, who knows, maybe it's not a 10 out of 10 game. Maybe it's not a game that gets given away free with the Quest 3. So that's that. I'm playing it. I'm like, this game is awesome. This game it's up there. This is a fantastic game. I already know that I'm in for 60 to 90 hours from the main campaign. Rumour has it that that's without even touching a side mission. I'm like, Yep, I'm here for the long time and the good time. So, let's talk about why Asgard's Wrath 2 is not a 10 out of 10 game. And let's talk about the fact that it could so easily be a 10 out of 10 game. I got to a point where it was like, right, we need you to do this. You know those puzzles where you've got to draw a shape, and you can't take your pen off the paper, and you can't go back along the same line. You know, one of those with the dots, and you've got to draw straight lines and stuff. It was one of those. Gave me the first one. I looked at the shape and I went, I know how to do this one. And I went, bam, 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 bam. Didn't take my pen, didn't take the thing off. Congratulations, you completed the first one. Here's the second one. And I looked at the second one and went, I think I can do this one. So I gave it a go and it was like, no, not quite. And I was like, all right, I'll try again. And I think I got it on my second attempt. I was like, cool, there we go. They were like, right, third and final puzzle. And I went, okay, hit me with it. And it gave it to me. And when it descends from the sky in front of you, and it descended from the sky in front of me, and I went, you have got to be fucking kidding me. What the shit is that? And it was like, was it dodecahedron with lines going through it in multiple different directions. It was like, I looked at it and was like, I believe that might be impossible. Must have tried it 50 times and was screaming, shouting, effing and jeffing and everything in between at the fact that I was faced with this puzzle that I could not do, and knew full well that even if I took the headset off, Googled it, found a video and a solution, there was no way I was going to be able to watch the video solution and then go back into the game to do it. I was losing my freaking mind. Then I'm like, so where's the skip option? Because ultimately I am now stuck at this point in time. This is me done here. I will progress no further in this game. So I realised so far through my heated meltdown that I had seen previously a puzzle very similar to this puzzle, and I knew the principles of how to solve it. And the principles of how to solve it is that you start in a particular place, you do part of the puzzle, and then it's like the way you have to think about it is do the opposite of what makes sense. So rather than doing all the different lines and stuff, do some of the lines and then do like the outside, and then use the outside to get back into the inside to do more lines to then make the last swooping bit sort of thing. So I tried a couple of things, and then, weirdly, and to this point in time, I've still no real idea how I managed it. I actually managed to do it, and I was like, oh, wow, that's amazing. It had taken me 60, 70, whatever attempts at this point. I was like, there we go. I walk up the stairs in front of me. The game crashed, kicked me out of the game, back to the main quest screen, and I went, what is happening right now? Went back into the game and went back to the save point, which was just before starting to solve the 3 puzzles, and I thought I might actually go insane at that point in time, because the knowledge that I was going to have to do the puzzles again, that was a big kick in the stones. So that was that. We move on. A couple of days later, I'm presented with another problem. There's a bird, it's injured, you need to rescue it. Okay, how do I do that? Dunno. Okay, where can I go to do it? Dunno. Oh, there's a thing over there, you could try using that. Okay, how do I do that? No idea. Cool. Spend 20 minutes wandering around like I do not have the foggiest idea. So, in the end, headset off, get the phone, get the Google going. Googly moogly, what can you tell me about this? Google returns a result. I go to a web page and the web page is like, oh, how do I do this? And the answer is, you need to go and do a completely different mission in a completely different area to get a new character who is going to give you an item which is going to help heal the bird. And the person who was asking the question then went back with, oh, okay. How am I supposed to know that? Because the game hasn't told me that. And I'm like, hey, that's a very interesting question. I am also wondering the same. And the response was, no, the game doesn't tell you that. Now, I have this thing. Weirdly, I have this thing where I don't mind having to Google stuff for games. I feel like it's a thing about some games that transcend gaming. I feel like it becomes like a multimedia experience. I was going to say it's a bit like choose your own adventure, but that's not quite what I mean. I feel it's just like it's more than the game. It's more of an experience than the game. So sometimes I like it. That is bullshit. That is utter horseshit. There is no excuse for something like that. Outside of Googling and finding one random post about this mission, there was zero way to find that out. As far as Asgard's Wrath 2 is concerned, I've had to Google a shed load of stuff. And honestly, if you don't find the answer in the first couple of searches, that's it. In the first couple of options from your search, if the answer isn't there, you are screwed. I had to skip through a 3-hour, 26-minute video to find a solution to a puzzle last night, to find that the video ended before getting to the puzzle I needed a solution for. Yeah, it's that. So quite frankly, Asgard's Wrath 2, no, you are not a 10 out of 10 game for this kind of horse shit. You are, at the moment, a 9 out of 10 game. And if you carry on with this sort of nonsense, your rating's going to go down. Now then, on the other hand, outside of that, this game is absolutely phenomenal. Every game should strive to be like this. Every game. I don't care what game it is. Even if it's a football game. Every game should strive for this level of gaming. It is just awesome. So, finally, I will say this. I played a PlayStation game. Actually, I played two. One of them I played previously and just got New Game Plus, which is Spider-Man 2. Put it on, started playing it, and was like, this is not ticking the box, I'm afraid. Luckily for me, I have a lot of PlayStation games that I am supposed to have played by now. One of those games was Diablo 4. I got it for Christmas. I was a little bit like, I'll get to it eventually. That was that. So, I was like, here's an opportunity to do that. I'm going to do that. Here we go. I started playing Diablo 4. Started getting into it. I was like, it's okay. It's not bad. A couple of tweaks here and there would be nice. And then the game opened up, like got past the beginning, managed to get a few more spells on the go. And honestly, this is another one where I've started playing it and I'm like, this game is good. This is a good game. I've definitely played the third. I know that much. Very good, very enjoyable. It's a series of games that I have enjoyed and have played multiple times. So, all good. So far, this one has been really good. I am really enjoying it, which can only mean that it's going to turn on me at some point and become terrible. Until then, where available, I will continue to play these games and report back my findings. That is it. Another bumper edition of the podcast. Should probably start splitting these into two because they are getting a little bit long in the tooth. I imagine at this point in time, nobody's actually listening anymore, so it probably doesn't matter. Anyway, I'm going to let you go, and I will catch you next time. So there we go. What do you think to that? Another one done, another one gone. Where do they all go? The ether. Devil ether. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Before you go, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review, and check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we've got social media links and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with us. That's it for this one. Till next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
You've just listened to another episode of Cookie Cast. Thanks for listening.